All right, little project here. Now I guess I'm in the business of making carrot guns. So wanted to show you how I've kind of modified my build here. And if you're interested, I'll sell you one too. So what we got is pretty much the whole setup to make a hand pumped carrot gun or actually a potato gun, because cool thing about this build is that it's going to be a modular barrel. So you can either put on the 1/2 inch barrel to shoot little carrots or anything smaller plug wise, or you can put on the big 2-inch barrel and shoot everything from a potato to maybe if you want to shoot a GoPro or whatnot. But pretty much these are all the parts. So to start out the materials, down here is a 3-inch cylinder for our pressure container. And so we'll start all the way to the back end. And so we have a little stem that is essentially a Schrader stem that will allow us to then connect a bike pump into the valve system. And so we have a threaded elbow, we have a threaded cap that I've tapped out with 1/8 inch pipe tap. So there's the 1/8 inch pipe tap. And that's going to connect into the back end. This is a mister system, so you put a mist cap on there, but I'm going to use that to connect a pressure gauge. So I want to know exactly how much pressure we're putting into the system. That's the one that I got for this. And then that connects into basically a reducer or an extender. And that goes up to 2-inch, that goes up to 3-inch. Then we have the coupling, and we have the 3-inch pipe. I'm going to do a 2-foot section here because I want to be able to ship it. And that's why I want this whole thing to break down, not only to change out barrels, but also to be able to make a smaller shipping box. So then 3-inch to coupling to reducer to 2-inch with a thread, or 1-inch, 1-inch threaded elbow. This pressure system goes all the way up into this heavy duty inline valve. So I'm going to modify this to basically be our high pressure dump system, almost like a cylinder valve. And so that's what I've got to do that. We'll show you how to do that build here in a minute. But then this is a 1-inch. You want that as open and big as possible for when it dumps air out of the pressure tank into the barrel. So then we have a 1-inch up to a 2-inch into our 2-inch pipe. Then if we want a smaller barrel, we have the 1-inch reduced down to a 1/2 inch pipe. And so that's a 4-foot barrel there. And then the whole system on this end is going to be supported. And so here's a brace that's going to thread onto this 1/2 inch barrel, and be surprised if you have it, but what I used was another 1/2 inch pipe tap, and then I got this sleeve off the end of the 3-inch, and so this had that natural coupling sleeve that I've cut off and I'm actually going to use. So on this end it's going to go on the 2-inch or the 3-inch air cylinder, which is going to go up and brace through this that's been ported out, or basically using a ream. So then that's going to slide onto that barrel. And then I also have a coupling system to do the same thing for the 2-inch. But then on top of that, probably the coolest part of this build is that it's also going to have a tripod mount base. And so this has either the 3/8 or the 1/4-20 mount for a fluid head, or a tripod mount so you can actually aim it. And then there's going to be a brace on the front end of that and a brace on the back end of that. And then this whole thing is going to slide onto the pressure pipe. This is all going to be adjustable with nylon screws, and that way we can actually adjust this whole system to make sure it's leveled. And then bike pump. And so we have the bike pump, we have our trusty PVC glue, and we've got our little markers. And so everything we need to do to measure it out. We're going to talk about this system when we talk about the valve system build in here in a minute, but it's pretty much everything we've talked about. Those are the taps for the different things on the base plate. Ream, or no, what is this? Skipping me now. But basically we have on all these guys, we've countersunk them. That's what that is. That's a countersink. We've countersunk those, so they'll go into this pipe, flush mounted on the bottom, so it slides onto our air cylinder. That's pretty much it. So let's get into the build here. Okay, I glued the air tank together and I already screwed it up. So I forgot to slide all these different sleeve supports onto here. So now it's not gonna be adjustable if I have to cut these to then get them onto there. So still figuring that out, but to show you what I did, I glued this end on, put some thread tape on there and made sure I threaded that as far as I could. So I knew I wanted that to go vertical. And I glued on this end because I knew I wanted this to go out sideways for the pressure gauge and I wanted this fill to go downward. So everything is dictated by this thread to make sure with tape, when that's bottomed out, airtight, and now we can go onto the barrel system. The cool thing is this little solenoid here that actuates it, it actually threads out. So really all I have to do is unthread this, get rid of this little bleed screw, and then tap right in the middle to then put our release trigger. And so this is a diaphragm system. Basically this side sits under pressure to keep the diaphragm closed. The minute you break that pressure, the diaphragm flips open and sends the air through the valve, and for us, down the barrel. To modify the valve, we gotta unthread the solenoid and fill that cavity with epoxy. Tap out this to then put in this 3/8 inch tap that'll thread onto our release valve, and then put the whole thing together. Pretty cool. Just realized with the solenoid out that probably isn't a taper thread, but that is 3/4. So 3/4 brass plug will thread right into that. So we don't have to wait for epoxy to cure. I will probably put something to plug that hole and maybe a little O-ring to go between this and a pipe tape. So make sure that does not leak, because the smallest leak in that and okay, pulled the screws. There is our diaphragm. And so now we just need to tap this little thing out. And there it is, pretty much assembled. On the support, we didn't have the room and I was dumb enough not to slide it on before I put the whole thing together, but I used a goop here because I want that to stay flexible, and this can actually rotate a little bit. So you can spin this off when you're putting on the other barrel, or it just gives you a little bit of flexibility while working with it. And then the tripod mount is no longer adjustable, but I also put that on with goop as well because I don't want it absolutely permanent in case I want to change things. You can see down there in the middle are the 2 taps for the mount on the tripod head, ball head or fluid. But now it's pretty much balanced. So I left it a little bit back heavy in case we want to put a longer barrel on. Here's the diaphragm system. I filled that with epoxy after all, just because I realized I didn't want any leaks out of that, because any leaks could create it to go off. But what I also did is I have a little strand of fiberglass, and so with scissors I put some chop strand in there just to give it some composite strength, but left everything else pretty much stock. So let the glue dry and then we'll see how it fires. Give this a dry test. You can hear it filling up there. I don't have a whole lot in the compressor. We'll take it up to about 50. There we go. So there's 50 in the tank. And then basically we just squeeze this thing. Here we go. Ooh, that has some kick with nothing in the barrel. So I'm afraid to see what a carrot will do. About 40 PSI. Just to give it a shop test, I'm gonna put a Sharpie in there, but really sloppy fit. Tip the thing back. And I have a chunk of cardboard there. I am wearing eye protection, but let's see what this thing does. Are we ready? Jeez. So, fire's pretty much dead on. And a sloppy fit, and that thing went through 3-inch foam, but it didn't really have a good trajectile because it's not a rifle barrel. But look at that, the thing went in sideways. Time for the real test. So we're gonna use a carrot. You can see here, this carrot is a really snug fit. So we're gonna push that in. We're gonna try it out. So here you can see we're about 80 PSI, and we're gonna give it a try. So we're gonna shoot downrange at that plywood. Here we go. You aim it. Let's give it a fire. Jeez. Oh, that thing kicked. Oh, wow, look at that. So it literally, did it go all the way through? That is just a carrot. So, that is amazing. So here it is, finished product, except if we wanted to, we could put it on a tripod, but it just shot a carrot through a sheet of plywood. So there you can actually see the plywood sheet, and look at how it blew out the back end. It's pretty impressive. Carrot, size of my pinky, through plywood. I don't think you could do that with any kind of martial arts unless it came out of that gun. Feel free to shoot me any questions.